Welcome back to What's on My Needles. And this week I am actually doing another round of restocking. Yes, I know that seems like it's on repeat. We are at the beginning of the year, which means I just redid inventory, so I now know what I'm low on. But I'm restocking Sky. So Sky is a little bumblebee. And as you can tell, there are little wings that can fly up. But when I flip them inside out, they go into their little beehive. So the first part of this is not going to be completely obvious, because the first part is to actually make the wings. So I'm going to get that all ready and set up. The wings are worked from their outer edge towards the center and then grafted together, or Kitchener stitch. They're sewn together. But it's wings, and then starting from the stinger moving forward, and then the head, and then the feet, so that all the ends can be woven in, and then the beehive. So this should be a about 3-part series. Updates later if that ends up not being the case. And I will be back once I'm all set up. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe to these social media platforms. Links will be provided in the description below. So I have done my cast on and my setup row, and now I'm actually going to work the tip of the wing. So to get the wing to fold in half that nicely, I need to actually decrease some stitches. So in my case, this is it's an SSK and then a knit 2 together. For those of you who have watched other videos, you know what's going on. If you haven't, or you need a reminder, I don't knit quite normally. I actually have my stitches twisted, so that's why it looks a little different as I'm knitting. So I have gotten to 4 stitches before the end of the row, and I'm actually going to make a short row. So that just meant slipping the 1 stitch over, putting the yarn to the front, slipping it back. This is so I can get a more teardrop shape to the wing, because bumblebee wings are not rectangular, they're not flat, they're kind of more teardrops. And I'm going to work back and I'm going to get to 4 before the end and do the same thing. So I'm transferring the stitch to my right hand needle, putting my working yarn to the front, putting the stitch back, and then flipping the work. So I'm going to knit back to the center of the wing, and I'm going to do a right leaning decrease and then a left leaning decrease. So most of you will know that as an SSK and a knit 2 together. I'm going to knit 1 more, wrap and turn again, making a short row, and then work back, again ending there, wrap and turn, and then I'm knitting back to center. And at this point, I'm actually going to cut my yarn. So my bumblebee had my Durny needle in it. I'm going to thread my needles. So we are ready to do the Kitchener stitch for this, or grafting it together, whichever way of thinking about it you are more comfortable with. So I'm going to insert from the back of the stitch to the front, And I'm going to say back and front versus knitwise and purlwise again because my stitches are twisted. And then I'm going to insert from the back of the work to the front of the work on the back needle. I'm going to pull the yarn a little tight just so that there's not a big old gap down there. And I'm going to put it from my needle from the front of the work, the back of the work, back to front, through those two, and then back to front, front to back on the other side. So in this case, I am recreating a row of garter stitch rather than a row of stockinette. So normally Kitchener's stitch is going to look like stockinette stitch. But because of the pattern of this project, I want it to look like garter stitch. So on one side I'm doing the equivalent of what would be purl stitches. So those are purl bumps. And on this side I'm doing knit stitches, so it's nice and flat like a row of knit stitches. And that's all I'm doing all the way across. These are little wings, but they are the biggest thing that I do like this in my store currently. I have done larger seams like this for personal projects, but those are personal projects. But please let me know if there are any other techniques that you are interested in finding out more about. You can leave those in the comments below, and if I have a project that goes to those, I will make a video for them. And I'm just going back through that last loop so that I have a nice edge to pick up from. So the top side and the bottom side look almost identical. Obviously where that first ridge is different, but they are pretty close to identical. So I'm going to go ahead and work a lot more of these wings because I'm actually going to make 3 of these all at once, and I will be back. If you would like to help fund this page, please find me on Patreon at Theatrical Crafts. So it is time to attach the wing. So I'm going to take the wing and I'm going to insert my needle through the edge stitch. I'm going to insert it through my working or my live stitch, pull a stitch up and another stitch up. So I'm essentially doing a knit 2 together of those. And I'm going to do one for the center stitch and one more on the far edge. And I will continue to I'll do the stitches in the middle, and then I will continue to work around. And I will see you next week on What's on My Needles.